My great-grandfather, he had a testimony. He was preaching Jesus. And he was preaching Jesus in Russia, where they forbid the preaching of Jesus. And they said, if you don't stop preaching Jesus, you're going to be in trouble. And they'd let him go. He'd keep preaching Jesus. And they called him again the next day. If you don't stop preaching Jesus, you're gonna have to answer for it. And he kept preaching Jesus. He did it 4 or 5 times. Finally, they caught him. They said, we told you it's a capital offense. They tried him and they found him guilty. They took him to a wall and lined up men with guns in front of him. And they said, we're going to kill you because you will not stop and you've committed a capital crime against the state. Do you have any last requests? And Sixth Dimension A.D. Urshan said, can I pray? Yep, go ahead and pray, then we're going to kill you. And he began to pray. And when your life is on the line, I imagine you develop a prayer life. And he thanked God. And he worshiped God. And he lifted up his voice to the God of heaven. And if I'm going to die, let me die in the service of my King. Halfway through it, he started talking in tongues. If I'm going to die, let me die speaking in tongues. And the Holy Ghost came on that little Middle Eastern preacher in a foreign land. When he got done, he braced himself for the impact of the bullets, and they didn't come. And when he pulled his blindfold up, the guns were laying on the ground, and there were no more soldiers. And the interpreter looked at him and said, preacher, you told me you didn't speak Russian. He said, I don't speak Russian. He said, well, you just did speak Russian, and you just told them that the angel of the Lord stood ready to strike down any man that touched the prophet of God. I'm trying to tell somebody, you got to raise your level. Hey, you got to come up out of that first dimension. You got to come up out of that second dimension. You got to come up out of that third dimension. You got to walk in the Holy Ghost. You got to walk in the authority of the heavenly pattern. You got to walk in the love of God. You got to walk with healing in your hands. You got to walk with the love of God in your heart. I've come that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. When you teach a Bible study, teach it under the unction. When you witness under the unction. When you testify, let the fire of the Holy Ghost move on you.